There aren't that many women in sports journalism to begin with because men chase them all off. Not just the athletes, not just the coaches, not just the administrators, but their fellow journalists. They're just male journalists are just as guilty as chasing women out of the business as any reporter, as any athlete, as any coach, as any general manager, as any athletic director, as any fan group. Reporters are just as bad. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chris Stevens Writes YouTube channel and the Chris 2 Cents podcast with your boy Chris Stevens. Not much has changed, but if you missed the announcement that I made last week, I'll put a link to the description below. You can check it out. Still going to be talking about things 2 cents with common sense, but we're narrowing it down. This is going to be more based on the art of writing, the craft of journalism, and I'm still going to talk about my mental health and physical health and all those other things. But the things that I really wanted to sort of specialize in. Special shout out once again. Ken Rashad is going to get tired of me mentioning him on my YouTube channel, but working for him and having conversations with him has definitely sharpened my focus to what I need to do in terms of what I want to do with these vlogs and these podcasts. So On the Groove Line is my brand new music YouTube channel. I'm very excited about that. I'll put a link to that in the description below so you can check it out. And I have an HBCU sports based announcement that I'm going to drop on you guys at the end of this show. So stay tuned. And this show isn't going to be very long. So I promise you, I guarantee you. Because there's only one thing I want to talk about. I'm going to give you 2 quick stories about it. And we out of here. I'm going to get you guys off on a Monday on a good foot. But I did want to talk about professionalism in journalism. Because that is something that is near and dear to my heart. Because I've been in this business since I was 20 years old. Yes, I count my college experience. I say it all the time. I count my college experience because our advisor told us so. Mr. Carlos Holmes at Delaware State. He was like, you guys are a news outlet like any other news outlet. So you have to conduct yourself as such. So professionalism has been drilled in my head since before I've been old enough to rent a car, since I don't drink. So there was one story last week in sports journalism that really irked my nerves. And because the headlines it made, it was like 50-50. And when you think about it, it really doesn't make any sense for this to be something that people should be split about. It should be one way only. And what this reporter did was completely unprofessional. Talking about Wiley Ballard for Bally Sports Atlanta. He was at the Braves Blue Jays game early last week. And during the broadcast, he was giving the updates on what's going on in the game and in the stands and all of that, the stuff that the field reporters do to, help the broadcasters take a little bit of a break. That guys that are broadcasting game, give them a little bit of a break. So he's chilling up in the stands and he's surrounded by a couple of young ladies, and the Braves broadcast team is like, get her number. One girl's like, go get her number or something. And he's relaying this to the woman, and she's like, you really asking me for my number on television? I mean, she's clearly a smart young lady, because I mean, she knows that, this dude has a microphone in his hand. And he's got a work shirt on, which makes this even worse, to be quite honest with you. So all of this is going on during the baseball game when the focus should be on the game. And this dude is macking or whatever. He gets, and the woman puts her number in. And then you had other journalists on social media talking about shout out to Wiley Ballard, playing while working and all of that. And I found it interesting that most of it is right in line with the split that we have with, and I'm not going to call it battle of the sexes, because it's not a battle of the sexes. It's just men being able to do things that women can't do. And because, I mean, there was one reporter, Chelsea Jane, she was like, imagine if a woman did this, she would be finished. And I can't argue with that, because women get a lot of bad beats in this business. Talking about journalism, period. Sports journalism, oh my God. There aren't that many women in sports journalism to begin with because men chase them all off. Not just the athletes, not just the coaches, not just the administrators, but their fellow journalists. They're just male journalists are just as guilty as chasing women out of the business as any reporter, as any athlete, as any coach, as any general manager, as any athletic director, as any fan group. Reporters are just as bad, because reporters talk. And it's always funny to see that every time a woman reporter, especially in sports, is you know, taking a picture with an athlete, you know, teasing the next story, people are like, oh wow, they fucking or whatever. And it's just like, I can't imagine dealing with that. I cannot imagine dealing with that. And I just don't think it's fair that this dude gets to be, gets the frat boy treatment. Like, right on, bro, dude, you've got the aura or whatever. But if a woman did anything remotely similar to that, oh, that slut, that whore, get her out of here. She's making our business look bad. Like, I mean, for crying out loud, people are still accusing Joy Taylor of sleeping her way to the top. Granted, the worst you can say about Joy Taylor is that she's not a girl's girl, according to the Fox Sports lawsuit brought on by the hairdresser, which apparently is close to a settlement. And I always say this: a settlement is not an admission of guilt, but it is not an acquittal either. So the head in charge of Fox Sports, Skip Bayless, Joy Taylor, seems like they realize their goose is cooked and they need to settle this before anything else gets out. But we could just stick to the fact that Joy Taylor sort of ignored this woman's pleas for help instead of just saying, oh, wow, she slept her way to the top. That's the worst thing she could have done. The worst thing she could have done was not be a girl's girl. That's just my take on the matter. But back to the point. If we're going to accuse women of sleeping their way to the top, then we need to be ready to talk about the dudes in different businesses and industries that always kiss up to the big boss in hopes of getting, promoted, in hopes of getting a raise, and they don't care. I mean, these dudes that, do a lot of brown nose and all of that, they really don't care how these big bosses feel. They don't care about their wife, their kids, what they do when they get off the clock. They just want to build a rapport so they can be first in line when promotions come up. That's in any industry. That is in any industry. And in journalism, it's probably more egregious because there are so many prime spots, in the legacy media field. It's just, you're not going to convince me that a woman potentially using her attractiveness isn't any worse than dudes, sucking up to dudes that they don't give a damn about. Really, they clout chasing. And that's pretty much what this was with the Wiley Ballard and the Atlanta Valley sports thing. It was clout chasing, because if you were really interested in that young lady, wouldn't you wait until you were done with work and come back and say, hey, I'm off the clock now. Cameras are gone, microphones are gone. What's your name? Are you from Toronto? Would you be interested in, taking my number so we could chat? Maybe next time I'm in the area, we can go out to dinner or something. Something simple like that. But no, you had to get on the air and say, all right, this is my chance to impress my colleagues in the booth. Wow, this is my chance to really be in. And you look like an asshole. Period. There's no other way around it. It's unprofessional, was unnecessary, and it is a double standard because women can never do that. And it's disappointing to see that but let's be clear about this. Yes, I'm going to bring race into it. Don't care who gets mad about it, because mostly black people tune into my channel anyway. White people stumble upon my channel because they want to troll, but is what it is. But you couldn't imagine if a black man had gotten a white woman's number that these same white reporters would be cheering on Wiley Ballard, like, right on, dude. Yeah, he's got the aura. He's got the riz. All of these are black used terms, by the way. It would be, oh, that guy. He thinks he's just because he's black and handsome, he can get our women's numbers. Fuck that guy, buddy. MAGA, Trump, blah, 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 blah. That's what they would be thinking if it was a brother that got her number. Easily. But that just bothered me to no end. I wanted to talk about it because I feel like if this industry is going to survive, then we need to hold everybody accountable for the mistakes that they make. And granted, I don't know if this was a mistake or not, but it was absolutely uncalled for. I'll say that, because you can't put aside your professionalism long enough to, if you can't put your wanderlust aside long enough to maintain some level of professionalism, then you really don't belong in the business. Prime example, I cover high school basketball in Delaware, and I'm at the age now where a lot of the mothers of the athletes that I cover are in my peer group. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that some of these moms be looking good out here. Why lie? I mean, I'm a guy who likes women, and if I find a woman attractive, I'm gonna say, okay, yeah. I mean, and again, these are women in my age range, like late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, and it's just like, wow. Like some moms, they get the respectfully thought in my mind. But I would never approach them during a game or even after a game because I'm probably not their type. Who dates sports writers? I'm sorry, I just had to make that joke real quick. It's an inside joke with me. I'll have to explain it at a later date. But yeah, I don't go to work looking for numbers. I go to work to cover a game or to do a story and get my butt back home so I can relax because I'm one of those people that just needs to veg after anything I do. And journalism can be kind of taxing, even though it's not, it's not intensive labor. It's still something that takes a lot of effort. But not, I don't go to games looking at the athlete's moms like, yo, let me see if I can get her number. I can get her number. No, it just doesn't make any sense to do that. It's not a social call. It's not the club. It's not the bar. It's not a concert. It's not a meet and greet. It's an athletic event. And if you're a sports writer, sports reporter at an athletic event, that is what you are there for. Nothing more, nothing less. And doing that just kind of sort of seeing that happen just kind of not threw me over the edge, but just annoyed me to no end. Because I just like, come on, man, really? And everybody, and they knew how it was going to be received. But I guess in today's world where we've got a 34-time felon, a convicted rapist in charge of the presidency, that everybody that was so, he's given them the courage to be themselves because they were like, oh, wow, I can't make jokes anymore in this woke world, the woke mind virus and all of that. Now that Trump's back in office, it's like, oh, wow, I could be a racist, bigot, homophobe jackass again. This is great. You ain't gonna get away for this still. You still won't get away with it. There are some people that will allow you to, but people like myself are going to call you out every single time. There'll be more people like me that call you out because that was unnecessary. That was uncalled for, and that was something that did not need to happen. And people are going to be like, wow, Chris, you're taking this too seriously. No, I'm not taking it too seriously because who goes to work every day trying to, score phone numbers and impress their colleagues like, that's masculinity or macho or all of that. That's bullshit is what it is. Simple and plain. And that second story that I mentioned, I'm probably going to save that for a different time because I just really wanted to keep this video short so I can make this second announcement. Yes. So I made the first announcement last week that I'm transitioning this podcast to more of a writing creative thing. So, and then of course I mentioned On the Groove line, but also for HBCU Sports, my day job, I have been given a podcast over there. Yes. The MEAC and More with Chris Stevens is just what it describes. I'll be covering the Mideastern Athletic Conference and also sports coming from Tennessee State, which is in the Big South OVC, and North Carolina A&T and Hampton, who are in the Coastal Athletic Association. So be sure to hit the HBCU Sports link in the description below and subscribe there. So when the MEAC and More drops, you'll be able to check that out. I do a show every week. Last week was live. This week is probably going to be live too. Just for this, for continuity's sake, and make sure people know that, hey, they're serious about this. And Chris Stevens is serious about, giving this platform, the right amount of coverage. So I'm very excited about that. Very excited about that. And On the Groove line, also, there'll be a new episode this week, and there'll be a blog complementing that as well. So I'll be writing my first blog line. I'll be writing my first blog for that in 2 years this coming week as well. It might actually be out today. So if by the time I get finished recording this and putting this up and I feel like putting it in the link in the description below, I will do just that. So thank y'all for watching this edition of Chris 2 Cents. That's my 2 cents for this episode. Greatly appreciate your time as always. Once again, contact information will be in the description below. Thank y'all for watching and listening. As always, until the next time we speak, y'all be good or be good at it.